Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for coming to today's. Let me make sure we're left. Okay, now we're left. Thanks for coming to coming to the community committee meeting for March 8th, 2018. So we've got a few items on the agenda today, but before we do that, I'd like to do an initiative, review or update. Does anyone who's, championing an initiative, do you have things to report?
Sure. Yeah, internationalization is going great. Oh man, it's so good to see everybody's faces on here. It's wonderful.
I know, it's nice.
It's like you're real. We're all real. Anyways, so yeah, things are going good. We've had a couple of good meetings. A few days ago, we met with Crowd to set stuff up on that side, and we had our official working group meeting 2 days ago, and that was great. People are excited, and a lot of representation from the Electron team there. Adam Miller was there, other people. So we're getting excited about that, and had a productive conversation about starting to scaffold and set up things. Yeah, other than that, I mean, we've just talked through a lot of logistics. We're getting into auditing the groups. Some people have stepped forward to say that they want to help out with various localization groups like Hindi and Polish and Japanese, things like that. So that's exciting too. Yeah, things are just going well. So that's about it.
Awesome. Are there any other updates from the other initiatives?
I can update on user feedback, and then touch on mentorship, and then probably hand off the rest of that to I've never said it out loud. Hi, sorry. So user feedback. We've gone through our first couple user feedback sessions, and we got feedback for more feedback. So we've have a few folks in the tooling space that are Christopher. I forget his last name. Christopher
Hillier.
Hillier. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who is the lead maintainer for Mocha? Is bringing together a few folks, and we have an open call for tooling participation and user feedback, and we'll believe that the meeting is our last session in the month is going to be slated for user feedback. Oh, cool. That's cool. So excited about that. Excited about landing the data for we took the data from the benchmarking working group survey and are now landing that in the repo. So this is the first sort of public data land that we're including. So excited about that. And then tomorrow we have, if you're interested in the organizing part of the mentorship group, we have our first sort of kickoff meeting at 9 a.m. Pacific. Ahmed, did you have anything else that you wanted to add around mentorship?
Yeah, we actually we decided on the communication channel, but it's on the agenda, so we're going to talk about it first.
Come join us.
Awesome. Is there an update from the website initiative or any of the other initiatives like that?
I can give a quick update on the badges initiative. There's been some great discussion online since last weekend, getting some momentum going. So you can go check out what we're talking about there. A lot of early planning stuff and process-oriented things. I had a couple new people start engaging with the repo, which is wonderful. And I think in the next week and a half, we're going to start planning the first actual meeting for the initiative after we let it generate some steam online. So chugging along.
Awesome.
Woohoo.
I've actually got another one that I realize I have context on that others might not. So community events is one of the original kind of initiatives that ComCom had. I'm not sure. I believe the repo was archived just as an administrative thing because it hadn't had activity, and I don't think the team got deleted, but there was like a one-member team. That was largely being driven by a ComCom observer in the past. He had said he just didn't feel like he had gotten the support he needed at the initial. Oh, sorry, I'm promoting someone that was attending. He said he didn't feel like he got the steam needed to push that community events thing forward, and so he had to kind of prioritize personal things over that. So that said, I think we're definitely in a different place now, and I offered to kind of, especially with initiatives, I offered to help kind of help promote that and see get any input from him or from committee members and just general interest to see if there's if anyone wants to help with that, because I think that was his pain point, was that there wasn't many people there to support the effort. So yeah, I just wanted to raise that. I believe they will be creating an issue in the next day or two here. But if they don't, I will, just to make sure, to do kind of a last thing and generate interest if there is any.
Tierney, I'm not sure if we're talking about this as a later issue, because I think it was one of the active issues in our repo right now. But that seems like it could be pretty tied to, especially I don't know if there are observers here in the meeting about the Node.js Africa work.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
And yeah, those potential contributors, because I know they were really excited, and the community events thing seems to match up with that perfectly. Yeah, so I think, I don't know how to pronounce his handle, but one of them is in here. I think you just turned to co-host. Yeah. Yeah, so that's definitely something that, I made sure to let that organizer know. But if they want to engage with that, that'd be really cool. Awesome. So with that, I think we can move on to the agenda, unless anyone else has something they'd like to add. Okay. So the first thing on the agenda is the Collaborator Summit. So this is... I believe you are too, Tracy, actually. Did I cut out? Yeah, you just cut out. Sorry, my internet. So first item on the agenda is the Collaborator Summit issue. And I know Dan and Tracy, I believe you're both helping organize that. Would you be able to give, either or both of you be able to give a little bit of an update on that?
Tracy, I've talked a lot. You want to talk?
Sure. So Collaborator Summit happens twice a year now. One time in the spring generally, or summer, and then one time in the fall. We try to pair the fall one with the big Node event from Node Foundation, which is Node Interactive at this point. In the spring, it's going to be in Berlin, right before JSConf EU. There's travel fund available to contributors to the project who would like to get there to participate. So we can also share those links for you as well. That's in the request for that, and the instructions for the travel fund are in the Node.js admin repo. But I believe we have links to that in both the ComCom and TSC repos as well. And that's really important because the Collaborator Summit is a great place for us to finally get to talk in person. We try to move the locations as well to make sure that if you're not able to travel to the States at this point, which is where most of the Node Interactives have been held, that we have another opportunity for people to be able to get together and speak in person, because a lot of these conversations that we're having, the really tough blockers that we're seeing every 6 months or so, a lot of them end up getting broken down and resolved at these Collaborator Summits. So the first day is going to be at AWS in Berlin. The second day is going to be at Mozilla. We're very grateful for them hosting us at these venues. And we'd totally love to see you there. I think that that's a number of the things that we're talking about now that are coming up in the issues, the events, inclusivity, all the user feedback initiative. We're having so much like big projects, mentorship happening. And the Collaborator Summit is a place where things that may be a little cyclical or have gone dormant can be revived and find new life with the organizers that attend there. And even if you aren't able to attend, the energy that happens from those events, you can often hop on those in the repos afterwards.
Great. Thanks, Tracy. And I believe any of the initiatives can also, I don't know if you mentioned this, but any of the initiatives can also kind of self-select to have a session there.
Yeah, it's just with everyone, participating there. It ends up being a bit unconferencey in terms of we may have a representative group of people from a working group or a team or something that doesn't exist yet. And you can form it there, which is great because, again, like you don't necessarily have to have that process in place ahead of time.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Tracy.
Just a quick question. I'm sorry if I missed the information elsewhere, but does one have to enlist for the JSConf to attend the Collaboration Summit?
That is an excellent question. No. So the partnership, is very loose. JSConf.eu is a great flagship community conference. We knew that there would be a lot of people in town because of that. So we're also trying to cut down on people's travel expenses and being able to already be in one place so they're missing less work. Because not everyone's employers are great for that. So JSConf.eu, we don't provide tickets to that conference. We're just providing the Collaborator Summit. So there's no registration fee or anything for Collaborator Summit. It's just showing up and being willing to participate.
Okay, thanks.
There was some mention in the issue about like buying tickets or anything. Is there anything like that, or should people just register through the regular website?
That's an excellent question. Are you talking about for JSConf.eu?
Yeah, for JSConf.eu. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, we were trying to get, this is like not private. We were trying to get a bundle of tickets, but that has not been resolved. So yeah, stay tuned. But we also will likely need to have some sort of RSVP for the Collaborator Summit. So as organizers, we're gonna have to talk about that. I'll write that down. Just so that we know how many people to expect.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I was just wondering if it's like, that's sort of what I got was stay tuned, but so don't book yet. Wait to see what happens was my take. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. So
hey, Tracy, we
go ahead.
Hey, Tracy. This is
Yes.
Maybe what we could do is trade them some Node or JS Interactive tickets for some Node.conf.eu tickets and do a trade if they're worried about the cost.
Yeah, we can ask. That I realized that thread was that we had on that particular discussion, I think, got put aside while we were prioritizing the venue confirmation, which took too long. So I'll include you on the thread when we pop that back in. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, awesome. So next item on the agenda, trying to get back to the issue. Next item on the agenda is the Diversity, Inclusivity Initiative issue created by Ben. Ben, are you willing to talk about that a little bit?
I think you just got cut out. I didn't understand the first part.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just, saying that's the next item on the agenda, the Diversity Inclusivity Initiative 260. Would you be able to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. As stated, the purpose is to move things forward on the diversity, inclusivity subjects. I know that's a strong subject for the community and for the community in general. And I'd like to have things moving first by having some user feedback. I think we can actually see with the user feedback initiative if they have something along those lines. to see what is expected from the general users and developers, what they want us to do for more inclusivity and more diversity. That may also encompass some things about the community events, because as you said it, about the Node.js Africa, we may have some points which are, how to say, which are crossing points between the two things. Some places are really poor, I'd say, in Node.js event, and we need to back them up like we back things in most of the Occidental world. And also I'd like to take on the subjects of non-binary, gendered people and such, to continue to have this community as welcoming as it's been, and even more if possible. So any volunteer is welcomed.
Yeah, I think we used to have, for those who haven't been around very long, we used to have an inclusivity working group. And that was very clearly prioritizing that work because the scope of that is large enough. So we don't have that anymore. That group's been archived and there wasn't any activity. And I think that it would be a great opportunity in time now to see who is interested. I would be happy to help with that. We definitely, I think, priority number one for that, and it would be great to try and have this conversation at Collaboration Summit, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable having these, talking about these subjects in a public forum on GitHub, because it is very sensitive and it means very different things depending on where you live in the world or how you grew up. And I think there's a number of people who really care about this. It would be great to get that started again. And we want to make sure we prioritize getting people with very different experiences, because I can't speak to other people's experiences. I can only speak to my own. So we need to make sure we've got the representative perspectives in the room so that we're making movement on that for Node. Yeah,
that's precisely what I want to have some feedback from the concerned people, because obviously I have myself some issues on representation, but I don't have all the issues, and everyone's got something to say, and we need to hear from the people who live it every day.
Yeah, and even if you look at like community committee, like everyone cares, I think, about making sure humans feel welcome in our spaces. But even like looking at the lineup of the people in our space, like in this call today, we're definitely missing some perspectives. So it would be, we have to prioritize that, right, as a very explicit thing to make people, to change that.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add to that? No? Okay. So the next item on the agenda is recreating the official secretary role. So for context, because I know a lot of current members and current observers, I guess Dan might have left because he's in here twice. So for context, for previous members or current members and observers, a while ago, under our previous chair, we had a secretary role that I partially filled, and that I filled with Jen Turner, I believe. So yeah, it was just, it's tasked with taking meeting minutes and then PRing those minutes in a timely manner. So that's generally, what that role is. I created this because I've taken that role on. I've continued to take that role on under, as a chair and co-chair. But it would be really helpful if someone could help do this. And actually, Jim has been doing a fantastic job with taking the minutes. So I didn't mean to take credit for that, but I've been PRing them in. So yeah, that's just something that I wanted to raise again. And one kind of point of process that I need to figure out is, does this actually need to be an existing member, or not? My guess is yes, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know on that.
I know in other conversations, some people shared the feeling that it was a good way for people to start getting involved. So maybe they're not a member, and that helps them be involved and get to know people and things like that. But you know,
yeah, I can't see why we would need to restrict it to an existing community committee member, especially because the existing members tend to have a lot of commitments and less to deal with. And even if they're not technically a member, they're working on it by contributing in that way. The biggest requirement there is time. They have to be able to attend the meetings to take notes and manage the backup if they aren't able to attend.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to continue to help take the notes. I didn't realize also that that I should be PRing them. So that's kind of just my bad. And
That's totally not on you.
Yeah, I can definitely start to submit those PRs. I noticed also that there was PRs for previous meeting minutes that have kind of just been sitting there.
I actually just added those like 2 days ago. There's 3 PRs that I added, adding in like the last 3 meetings.
All at once, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I'm definitely open. It doesn't have to be me. If somebody else wants to, like if we want somebody newer to also tackle this, that's totally fine. But I'm happy to take a little more of this off your plate, Tierney, so that it doesn't have to be you submitting those PRs all the time.
Yeah, you know, I don't really mind. I just want to make sure, you know, this is a thing we can kind of set up officially and have it be, you know, attributed to individual or individuals. So yeah, I don't mind one way or the other. But yeah, there, you know, a few people, including people in this call, also raise their hand to do that. So yeah, I don't really know if I should make a decision on this. I don't think I should. I think this should probably be just a committee decision. Yeah.
I don't want to hold it from anyone else who wants it, but barring anyone else, let me just say I'll do it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. Does anyone else have
we definitely have quorum here. You know, we could do a what is it, a any objections consensus pass.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Okay.
there's a better term for that. Gotcha.
So are there any objections to making Jem our secretary, tasking him with taking minutes, filling in for, or like coordinating when they can't come to the meeting, and PRing those minutes in? No objections.
Thank you, Jem.
Thanks, Jem.
Yay, thank you, Jem.
Thank you.
Now you get to write your own vote in the minutes.
Yes. Somebody's helped while I was talking. So
okay, that's great.
Cool.
Awesome. So congrats. Okay, so that's we should note that in the issue. I will leave that open, so I will do that afterward.
You mentioned that there may have been some other individuals who could have been interested, and I was just, Jem, I would, if you have some folks who've already volunteered to be alternates, capture that now and write it down, because that'll be useful.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, they're in that issue. They raise their hand in that issue, so that's definitely going to be useful for you.
Make a backup list or a folks to
right.
On.
Yeah.
So folks that maybe already have that you've coordinated with and already have the context of what are the kind of the basics of making sure everything gets done. Be awesome.
Yeah. So related to this, should I be also preparing the agenda ahead of time, or is that still something that the chair does?
So at this point, that's been stripped away from the chair, thankfully, to an automated system. So yeah, that's automated away by Michael. So thank you, Michael, for that. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So
also for the notes, generally across the org, we've kind of decided to list people by GitHub name alphabetically. just to make it standard. So if that's something you can remember, and that kind of leads into, I think, the next topic as well.
Perfect segue.
Yes, it does. So the next item on the agenda is issue 267, automate meeting participant history document. So Adam, you created this issue. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, I can give a little bit of context. So in more than a few places, I've noticed comments or concerns about how the participant history document that we currently have, which is right now just a Google spreadsheet, gets out of date pretty quickly, depending on how fast meeting notes are PR'd and pulled into the repo, and then you have to go in and add to the document. So it was, I think, a good month and a half behind at one point. And there's no reason it can't be automated. I actually, when I saw the latest discussion happening about this, I went and, just as like a proof of sanity, wrote a little script that will pull down the repo, crawl the meetings directory, find people under the participants section, find their GitHub handles, and add them, collect stats across all the meetings. So it's very easy to do. And I just wanted to start the discussion about, is this something that we want to automate? Is it worth automating? And if we do, how do we productize it? Where does it get deployed? How do we host it? Yeah, that's the ticket.
Awesome. So it looks like there's been some discussion in there already with various people who work on this. Specifically, also Joey mentioned it, or is in there discussing it. And then I assume, Michael, you could probably help out with the context around like where it would be hosted and the processes around that we would need. I'm totally putting you on the spot here, Michael. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just distracted for a second there. Can you just repeat the question?
Oh yeah. So for the automate meeting participant history document,
right.
That would be possibly a script.
Yes.
Any insight into how we could kind of host that and run that consistently?
So right. Yeah. So there is an issue that says move the module itself under the foundation, which I think we should do. The other thing then is how to host the automation thing. The key thing is it requires both a GitHub and
I think we're talking about something different.
Oh, okay.
No worries. The issue 267, I'll paste it in the chat here.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So it's about automating like
right. Okay, yeah. Yes. So this is like automating the right. So yeah. So hosting that, I guess it's basically a cron job. Does it require any special privileges to run?
No, it doesn't need any special privileges, or it just needs internet access. It pulls down the public repository and parses information there.
Yeah. So I mean, in that case, that we could just set up a Jenkins job that runs that script. So if it's as easy as like, here's a shell script that we need to run somewhere, we could PR that into the build repo and then set up a job which would pull that and.
But what do we want to do with it after it runs it though?
Yeah, so it'll presumably generate a static HTML page, which is all the information on it. Would that get pushed somewhere with hosting?
Right. So that would be potentially the more difficult part. If you want to like push it into the GitHub repo or something, you'd need some authentication information to do that.
I think it would probably serve just fine to push it into a markdown file.
I mean, the absolute easiest thing is you could just see it in the history of the job history. You can click on the job that ran and you can see the output. And if all we care about is the latest numbers, that means you don't have to actually keep multiple versions and history and all that kind of stuff. If you want a history, then we probably need to do something more complicated.
Yeah, I feel like if we just generated a markdown file, it would get kind of large. It's possible it could be formatted well, but yeah, I don't know. I'm open for suggestions, and it might be something we take offline and keep discussing on the issue.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Like
we can get into the weeds pretty easily here.
We've done some similar things like coverage and benchmarking push data on a regular basis, but that's kind of like to the public website. I'm not sure if we'd need the same thing for this.
Yeah, the other option is this is all public information, and somebody did recommend we just get a free Heroku instance and throw it up there. So it's not a terrible idea.
It's sort of easy as long as you don't need to share the if it's important to share it across the team in terms of like who can get access to it, who can maintain it, then that'll may be a little bit more difficult. But if it's just you want to have it running there and you want to run it on your own, then that would work perfectly well, right?
Yeah, and I don't know, like, as long as the source code is open source and then like anyone can deploy it and generate it, that should be okay. I don't necessarily know if there'd be an issue with that.
Yeah, this could also presumably run for any of the working groups or even for any other team under Node. All it expects is a meetings directory in a certain format, which seems pretty standard across the entire org. So I can explore that as well. People can PR their own repositories they want added to the list of information gathering.
Just two quick things. For the technical part, I'd like to state the obvious that maybe this should live in the Node.js automation repo. That's definitely some automation work, I think. And just for the record, I'd like to ask again if everyone feels this is relevant, since we are trying to have some restructuring work on the member pathway.
Sure.
Again, I think this is a great idea in general, especially since while we don't have this restructuring effort done, we still go on the actual pathway to members. So maybe we need to still continue to track attendance. But in the long run, is it really worth the effort?
So I think the answer is
very good question.
Yes, it's related, and that discussion should probably be held in the membership meeting that happens like next week, I think.
Yeah.
The upcoming membership meeting, discussing that, focusing on that. I think that's probably like I definitely think it's related, and I think it should be probably handled there unless anyone thinks otherwise.
No objections.
Fine by me.
As a champion of one of our initiatives, really happy to have tooling that makes this easier and obvious for everyone.
Yeah, it's just as said. I don't think this is a bad tooling. On the contrary, I think it's great. I just don't know if it's really relevant for the situation at hand in the community committee membership attendance. But you're perfectly right, Tini. I think we should probably more discuss that in the restructuring effort meeting.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay. So let me see the next item on the agenda here. Okay. So the next item on the agenda, I don't know if this is, I don't know if there's anything left on this. I kind of gave a little bit of an update on one of the current initiatives, but the subject is current strategic initiatives review. This label was added quite a while ago, and it doesn't look like there's been any new progress on that specific issue, any new discussion. So unless anyone has anything they'd like to add to that, I think we can probably skip this item. Or anyone has anything they'd like to talk about? No? Okay. So next item on the agenda is the mentorship repo, and the mentorship, the issue communication channel for the matched mentors mentees first meeting. So I actually, Ahmad, you can probably fill in a bit on this, but I do want to say that I tried to follow up a little bit on this. Oh, this is different than what I thought it was. I'm sorry. Apologies. Go ahead, Ahmed.
Okay, so just to give some context, basically we wanted to choose a communication channel for the mentors and mentees for the first meeting and possibly for all the meetings. Basically, there's many tooling options for the communication like Slack, Google Hangouts. I tried so many different tools in the past 2 weeks, and I decided to go with Slack. Basically, any option would have been good, but I want something to stay persistent, so the mentors and mentees can persistently use it to talk and chat during the mentorship program or afterwards, or during the first meeting and afterwards as well. So I'm not sure how exactly we should go about this. I created a Slack channel, Node.js mentorship, but I believe that also has to go to the Node.js Foundation to take control over it and stuff like that, just like the forums, stuff like that. I don't know, Tim, if you have any input.
Yeah, so I've actually noticed that several. Well, I know the moderation team has its own Slack, and then also the Node.js security group has its own Slack now. So it seems like we're moving to that's an okay medium. I will have to check in on that. At least I can ping one or two people to see who helped set up the security one to see what the process they went through was, or at least where that was discussed, so we can get kind of some context on that. But it doesn't look like that should be necessarily an issue. My only concern with it would be that you said you want something persistent, and Slack after 10,000 messages on the free tier.
Yeah, I don't mean the messages. I mean like the communication channel itself, because if like the talkie or appear in, you just create like a temporary channel and you finish the meeting and that's it. You need a new link, or you can.
Gotcha.
But Slack, you just go online. It's like a messenger kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a quick side thing. Have you considered Discord at all? It's very similar to Slack, and is persistent for longer and it has voice communication. I guess Slack doesn't have to do so.
Slack's voice, I think.
I did post that.
Ryan Lewis got.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Ryan Lewis talked to Slack and they gave us an enterprise edition. So if persistence is an issue, I think they'll give it to us for free so we can have it forever.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And
about Discord, I actually checked Discord and I posted in the comment about Discord. It's really good and you can persist the messages, but it's more person-oriented than team-oriented. So basically, you have an account for yourself and you join. It's the other way of Slack. And I didn't choose it. Just basically, it's more game-oriented. I felt like I'm entering like something for gaming. It's not.
Yeah.
Like the feeling of Slack is much more professional. That's why I chose Slack over Discord.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I might ask. So I have currently, I have it connected to my Gmail account, the Slack channel. I don't know if you have to agree on the name. I'll post the name. It's basically Node.js mentorship. I'm not sure if we should go with that name or choose another one. And also I have to pass the admin privileges or share it with the Node.js Foundation. I'm not sure who exactly.
Yeah, so I was gonna say if that's if it's a ComCom initiative, I know it's not right now, but I can't remember if it was planned. Dan, you might know more if it was planned to be a ComCom initiative or a joint initiative. I can't remember off the top of my head.
The mentorship, it's kind of us going and kicking it off, and serving the rest of the project. But it's a ComCom initiative.
Okay. So in that case, I think it would make sense to have the ComCom chair as the owner, and then that can be transferred with ComCom chair when it's transferred, just as an ownership thing. as a responsibility thing.
I mean, before we go down that path, there's also prior art that we could embrace. I've seen a lot of great activity over the last couple months. As after we kind of blessed Node Slackers as a quasi-official channel, and I just wonder why we couldn't use that same space and have that meeting forum be that, and Mark can help with the license of that instance, and we can work with the creator of that to get that transferred over and establish ownership.
I really gotta push that as well. There are thousands and thousands of people already signed up on that, and especially if we now have the chance to have an enterprise edition. Justin has always been completely open. Jordan's also an owner over there, Jordan Harbin, which we all know very well.
Modules working group.
Yeah, it's not like a really disconnected group over there, and they really want to be brought in the fold as far as I've ever seen. So I would encourage just reusing that same one and working with them to bring them in the fold more officially.
Yep, awesome. I'd like to see that.
And I think that's also a good way for mentees to have access to others' knowledge as well. So like interacting with other devs as well.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There's already knowledge sharing and mentorship kind of organically happening.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be really good. The only concern I have is I want to move things a little bit faster, and I don't know if this will move things another 2 months and stuff like that.
So that I think it'll be the opposite. I think it'll actually take less time if we use Node Slackers, because then we don't have to deal with a lot of the barriers of okay, who owns this, and confusing things like that.
Okay.
And kind of on that topic, I know you and I'm not trying to divert the discussion here, but actually on that, I know we have Mark Kinkle here, and I believe we might have Zibby Keaton as well. But Mark, I wanted to ask you specifically, Ahmed has been looking to get some help from the foundation on getting two Google forms that he personally set up into the foundation. So we can, continue the PII in the foundation and then, still get the information that we need to actually be able to do this. So I think I'm pretty sure I reached out to Greg Wallace a couple weeks ago. It was before I started traveling. So do you think you'd be able to help me connect the dots on that and help Ahmed as well, get this set up?
Yeah, I'll do my best. I'm in a car driving through Northern California right now, but if you just send me a note of what you sent Greg, I will follow up when I get into the office.
Great. That's perfect. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. I just want to note on that, there's already people submitting on the forums, it's gaining some momentum, although it's only an issue, which is really good and exciting. There's 12 or 13 submission forms already, both on the mentors and the mentees side. So it's good to move fast with that issue as well.
Awesome. Sounds good. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add to that discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, Ahmed, if you aren't already on Node Slackers, it's super easy to get set up. Maybe someone could drop the link.
Nodeslackers.com.
Yeah, I'll definitely join right now. Thanks.
Cool.
Okay.
See you there.
Awesome. And with that, I think we've exhausted our agenda items. So does anyone have anything else they'd like to add at all?
I added more stuff to the agenda. I just put it under the other section.
Okay, cool. I was looking at the issue. So yeah, I'll flip over the doc. Okay. So yeah, William, do you want to discuss this a little bit?
Sure. So as some of you probably saw, I piped in on some of the movement that was going on, putting licenses around. We had a legal committee meeting, and it was discussing licenses. It was an issue that was opened over on the TSC that started it. And so I knew some of this was kind of coming down the pipeline. And so I wanted to just kind of hold off on doing license stuff until we had the official statement from the legal committee, which we now have, and it's been approved to share with the public. And so I dropped it into this meeting doc, and we should maybe put it somewhere else. I'm not sure, because we didn't have a dedicated thread for this, at least in community committee. I'll just quickly go over them. The first one is do not strip or alter existing copyright notices. Second, other projects have utilized the phrase foundation name or project and its contributors in the notice. Adding dates is not preferable. It doesn't have a legal impact and would be excluded only for ease of administration. If a file is updated by the project, the original author, like a lot of times we bring in outside projects. So like Nan, for example, was created by Rod Vag. So it says copyright Rod Vag. We never touch the original copyright there at all. If anything, we would just add the foundation name and contributors. And we do that if we update that project. And then we prefer, if we're adding something brand new, we prefer the SBDX tagging, which you go to sbdx.org. We prefer MIT here for code. And so it's just a reference to the official MIT license. That said, what we didn't cover was what came up more specific to what was happening here in ComCom, and that was non-code related repos and adding copyrights to it. My completely non-official lawyering would say that MIT is probably inappropriate for that, since the language is specifically around software. So we as community committee could make a new request to the legal committee to say, you know, what kind of things should we have in our non-code repos? But that's up to this committee to, you know, decide if they want to make that ask. I would, you know, looking around the web, I've noticed there's a lot of Creative Commons that's popular. So maybe that's one, but.
I think we need to split it into two asks. What do we do for repos that's mostly writing and content and process? And then what do we do for ones that might have some design as well? Are they different? Should they be treated differently? Because website redesign and badges will have design assets committed.
And I think the same probably goes for like bits of code, like hybrid things that aren't entirely entirely writing or entirely, you know, design or entirely code. It on the horizon looks like several things that fall in that category.
We'd have like the data and user feedback from our surveys, for example.
Yeah, that's another thing that we have to figure out how to license.
Yeah. So one thing though that is clear is once we put a license up, we don't touch it. It's the worst thing we can do. So if we have repos, this means like this, if we want to get more information, we have to continue forward without any license there at all until we have an official word, right?
So changing is worse than you know, slapping one on there and changing it down the line is worse. Okay.
Right. But if we want to make an ask, we have to have a very clear statement of what we need answered. And then it sounds like we have, I think, 3 examples that were mentioned here. We might want to find 3 examples and use those for clarity.
Okay.
So something that I've found with interacting with the legal folks, you know, if you just kind of give them an open-ended question of like, what should we use? Some of this ends up taking, you know, a lot of time, and they're starting from scratch. So if we have at least a, you know, a hypothesis what we might want to use, we'll get an answer more quickly. Where it's kind of, should we use I just saw someone mentioned SNTC or something like that. Should we use Creative Commons, simple non-code license, SNCL? New to me, and so should we, rather than saying what should we use, asking, what do you think about using that simple SNCL? Snackle? So.
Okay.
So that said, if there's anyone here that wants to open an issue and start that, that'd be great.
I can open an issue after this because I took down some notes here about some of the questions just to get the ball rolling. It would be great if folks are thinking about some of the examples that we could use.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'll add something for that.
Okay. So does anyone else have anything they'd like to add, or anything they'd like to discuss specifically that wasn't in the agenda?
Should we discuss something next time about what we're actually going to present at the Collaborative Summit?
Sure. Yeah, that would work. Could you create an issue about that to tag it, and then we can also have that as our point of discussion where we can go back to and talk about it. Okay. Yes. Great. So with that, I think we can probably end it. We're about at time. I know several people have things they have to go get to. So with that, I think we can say goodbye. Thanks everyone for coming, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Tierney.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody.
Everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye.